Yo, what is going on, guys? Flashverse here, and welcome back to another video on The Flash Season 7. And this will be my Speed Force Lightning ending explained video for The Flash Season 7 Episode 3 titled Mother. So I will be breaking down that ending scene which we got in regards to the Speed Force Lightning, and I'll be explaining what each of the 4 lightning colors mean and what they represent, but also how they could play into the season. So yesterday we obviously had the conclusion of the Flash Season 6 storyline, or in other words, the graphic novel number 2 storyline, which is the Mirror Master and the Artificial Speed Force storyline. So from episode 4 to episode 11, we will have the introduction of the actual Flash Season 7 storyline, with graphic novel number 3 coming into play. And yesterday we got a very mediocre episode of The Flash. We had tons and tons of bad things happening in that episode, but we also had a couple of good things as well. As you guys would have seen if you guys have watched my review, I gave that episode a 6.5 out of 10, which is very weak coming from me because I would normally give episodes high ratings. But I have seen a mix of reviews. I've seen people who loved the episode, but a lot of people who disliked it as well. But although the episode was quite mediocre, that ending scene was very interesting and obviously sets up a lot going into graphic novel number 3. So yeah, as I said in the intro, I'll be explaining this ending scene and what this could all mean going into graphic novel number 3. Now for this video, I'll be using some set photos, and credit to the one and only Canada Graphs for these set photos. I will link his blog page in the description down below so you guys can check him out. He has tons and tons of set photos for all of the Arrowverse shows, and trust me, it is worth a look because he has a lot of more additional set photos which I wouldn't have added on this video. But before I go over anything, however, you guys don't forget to drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel so you are aware of more Arrowverse content coming your way. Okay, so during the ending scene of The Flash Season 7, we cut to that scene where Iris helps power the fusion sphere in order to bring Barry his speed back. But as the artificial Speed Force machine starts to ignite orange lightning, we see some of this lightning spark upwards. Now at first we didn't know what was happening over here because all we saw was Wells glancing at a monitor, so he clearly saw what happened but he ignored it. So what I'm thinking is that Wells knew this would happen while they tried to get Barry his speed back, and maybe this storyline with the forces could also tie into Wells in some way, but I guess we will have to wait and see. But during the ending scene, we saw this lightning go up to the sky, and it seemed like it joined with something, and suddenly we see this lightning scatter into different colors. More specifically, we see blue lightning, we see red lightning, green lightning, and yellow lightning. Now I have seen a lot of people mentioning that this is the Speed Force storm and it will create Godspeed. That is not the case over here. Although the creating Godspeed portion could be correct, this is not the Speed Force storm. These 4 lightning colors symbolize the 4 forces. So the red lightning is known as the Strength Force, the blue lightning is known as the Sage Force, the green lightning is known as the Still Force, and the yellow lightning is known as the Speed Force. So what is happening over here is that they are exploring the Force Quest storyline, in which we will have Barry as well as Team Flash finding out that the Speed Force is not the only infinite source of cosmic energy out there in the multiverse or the universe, but there are 3 more out there. Now this isn't really a theory, but through set photos we know for sure this is the storyline that they're going for. So firstly, from the Flash Season 7 Episode 5 synopsis, we know a new villain will be introduced, and he goes by the name of Psych. Now he wasn't only seen on episode 5 set photos, but we also saw this guy for episode 10 and 11 set photos, in which episode 11 is the mid-season finale, if you will, because that is the end of graphic novel number 3. Now, I will not go over the episode 11 set photos because there is a big spoiler which I just don't want to show you guys. So if you guys want to know what it is, you guys could obviously check out Canada Graphs' blog page. As I said, it is linked in the description down below. Now, this villain known as Psych has the ability to amplify everyone's fears, in which this is why we called him Nightmare Villain in the first place, because on set he uses his power on the Flash, and the director for the episode told Grant Gustin to act like he was in some sort of nightmare. And at first nobody knew who this guy was because his costume on the show is so different to his comic book version of his costume. But Paige was able to spot that this nightmare villain, now known as Psych, had the same logo from his mask's forehead to his comic book version suit. Now, what's so interesting about this logo is that it is the logo of the Sage Force. Now, I will get into explaining these forces later on, but another thing which supports the fact that they're going for the storyline is this set photo over here. Now, this is the only non-spoiler set photo for episode 11 which I will mention for this video, but we have a high school teen over here, but he's wearing a green jacket. Now, the logo of this kid's jacket is the same logo of Steadfast in the comics, but it's also the logo of the Still Force, and once again, Paige was the one who was able to pick this out. But Steadfast is not a villain, he is a good guy. That's the only difference between Psych and him. Now, those are the only two we are for sure of so far, which means we have yet to see the user of the Strength Force and the other user of the Speed Force. Now, my theory over here is that when these multiple different lightning colors scattered across the city, it ended up striking these people. So Psych got his powers due to the Sage Force striking him, the high school teen ended up with the Still Force, and someone ended up with the Strength Force. We still don't know who, but maybe Godspeed is the one who ended up with the Speed Force. I think that would be a very interesting way to bring in the real Godspeed. The thing with Godspeed is that Godspeed has not been seen on set at all, meaning I could be wrong about this, but maybe for the first half of the season we have the Psych or even someone else as the big bad who may want to reach out to these forces and control them, or it could just be Psych, we don't know. But then we could have Godspeed being the villain after Psych or whoever it is for the graphic novel number 3 storyline. So for graphic novel number 4, maybe we could have the storyline where Team Flash don't know who the user of the Speed Force is yet, and then they find out that it's Godspeed, and then we could have Godspeed as a main antagonist for graphic novel number 4 maybe. I'm not entirely sure. The only thing that contradicts this is that they will have to explain how the Godspeed clones became a thing before the original Godspeed was created, so I'm not sure how this will play out. But this Force Quest storyline is definitely what they're going for. That is what we know for sure. But on to explaining these colors and their meanings. So firstly, we know how the Speed Force was created, so I'm not going to go over that. But the Sage Force and the Strength Force. So as I said before, the Sage Force is the one with blue lightning and the Strength Force is the one with red lightning. So in the comics, the Sage Force and the Strength Force was introduced by Zoom. And Hunter Zolomon discovered that the Speed Force and the Negative Speed Force weren't the only cosmic forces out there in the multiverse, but these other forces lay resting due to a force barrier. Now Zoom manipulated Barry Allen and Wally West into running fast enough to break said barrier, which allowed Zoom to tap into the Speed Force, the Sage Force, and the Strength Force. Now they are obviously not going to do this on the show, they're going to have to find another way to do so. But firstly, going over the Sage Force. Now the Sage Force basically enhances the intelligence of its conduits to super genius levels, as well as granting them psychic powers such as telepathy and telekinesis. So yeah, that could do all sorts of telepathic stuff, and the person who will be using the Sage Force is Psych. Now going on to the Strength Force. So the Strength Force revolves around land, gravity, density, and mass shifting, all of which is centered around the force of motion. Now the Strength Force grants its conduits powers by striking them from below the Earth's surface and basically imbuing them with its energy. Now as I said, We don't know who will be using this yet because we haven't seen the person on set who could presumably be using the strength force. I'm not entirely sure, I could be wrong about this, but also in the comics the Trickster did use the strength force at one point. I doubt that they'll do that. I think they'll find somebody else to use the strength force, but I'm not entirely sure who will be using the strength force. But lastly, to go over the still force. Now the still force was founded by Lex Luthor to negate Barry from using the speed force, because the still force would prevent basically fast motion from happening. But they're obviously not going to do the whole Lex Luthor thing, so I'm very interested to see how they will bring in the still force and how Team Flash will find out about it. Now, connection to the still force allows whoever taps into it to negate motion, bearing the potential to induce and accelerate the force of entropy. Now, the still force can be used for deceleration or even halting of the user's aging. They also have the ability to drain life force energy from others or even create physical constructs of its power. So obviously we have seen the still force being utilized many times in the show. We have seen it with the Turtle during the Flash season 6. But again, we know that this high school kid will be the one using the still force for this storyline, but I doubt he's the Turtle or anything, and the only other people that use the still force as far as I'm aware were the Turtle and Gorilla Grodd as well as Steadfast, so I'm pretty sure this high school kid is Steadfast. Now the only thing is, as I said, Steadfast is not a villain, so what they will do with this Force Quest storyline is that they'll probably split it up, so maybe some people who get these new forces are good guys, but then we have others who are villains, such as Psych, for example. But yeah guys, thanks for watching. If you guys have enjoyed the video, please give a like and subscribe. And yeah, I will see you guys in my next video.